So good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us for this 1-hour webinar dedicated to food supplement news in Europe. I am Emilie Chauvigné, and I will host this webinar with my colleague Merve Çiftci Kantar. We are both senior regulatory affairs consultant for PLG. Just a few words about Product Life Group, so PLG. As you know, R&I Consulting is now part of PLG. And PLG is a life science consulting company offering end-to-end services from early stage product development to market access and patient access. And this in 4 healthcare sectors, so in biopharmaceutical, medical, nutraceutical, and cosmetic products. And as part of the organization, R&E Consulting became the center of expertise for nutrition and cosmetic products. In these slides, you can see some rules to facilitate the smooth functioning of the webinar. You will be on mute during the session, so if you have any question, please use the question and answer part in the Zoom, and we will try to answer your question at the end of the presentation if we still have time. Also, you had the opportunity to ask some questions during your registration, so we will try to answer these questions during the presentation. And please note that this is on the previous slide. Please note that the session is recorded and that we will send you the entire slide deck in the next few days after this presentation. For the agenda, so we will have 3 main sections. The first one is about the composition. So what are the news about the composition of food supplements, about nutrients, botanical substances, and so on. We will also talk about labeling and claims, and a last part dedicated to some information about commercialization, especially in some member states. And if we have time, we will have question and answers. So I will give the floor to Merve, and she will talk to you about the composition.
Thanks, Emily. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to kick off the webinar with our first chapter, composition. In this section, we will focus on some topics like nutrients, botanical substances, novel foods, food additives, and contaminants. And hopefully we will recap everything that happened in 2024. Starting with nutrients, a new source of iron was authorized as iron milcazenate in 2024. And this is concerning the addition of iron milcazenate to foodstuffs and food supplements. Consequently, this updated 2 important regulations, Annex 2 of Regulation 1925 on the addition of vitamins, minerals, and other substances to food, and also Annex 2 of Directive 2002 on food supplements. Iron milcazenate was actually authorized as a novel food. So like in every novel food, there are specific categories, if applicable, and also some maximum daily dose, and that needs to be respected. Also some warnings for the labeling. You can see these conditions of use for iron milcazenate on the screen. Just one note that this authorization is under 5-year data protection, which is ending on the 4th of June 2028, meaning that only the applicant can use this ingredient until this time. Another important work that was carried out was from EFSA working group on revision of tolerable upper intake levels, which we will call ULs. As you might know, European Commission requested EFSA to review certain vitamins and minerals in 2020, and The biggest part of this work has been was delivered in 2023 with the published opinions on selenium, vitamin B6, folate, manganese, and vitamin D. Following that, last year, EFSA published another 3 opinions and a guidance. This guidance is for establishing and applying tolerable ULs for vitamins and minerals. This year, the published opinions are for iron. For iron, no tolerable UL was established, but safe intake levels were defined for several target populations. Vitamin A, new UL was established only for infants. For B-carotene, no tolerable UL was established. Vitamin E, again, new UL was established for infants only. This sets the stage for the next topic that we will discuss, and it is harmonization of maximum limits of vitamin and minerals in Europe. This is a topic that we received many questions from you. Given the importance and the stake of this work, we appreciate that there are a lot of uncertainties for the food business operators. So I will just take a moment to build this conceptualization between the UL, EFSA, maximum amount, and the European Commission to really like put every terminology in place before we move on to what happened in 2024. So ULs are defined as maximum amount of nutrients that can be consumed safely over a long period of time. So these values are science-based values and evidence-based values. These are established by EFSA, just like we mentioned in the previous slide for iron, vitamin A, etc. So these are the risk assessments itself by EFSA. Then, when these risk assessments are complete, these values are considered to calculate, establish maximum amount of nutrients that can be added to foods or that can be used in food supplements. And these values, these calculated values are the legal values that are established by the regulators. And this is the risk management part of the things. So that being said, the ULs and the maximum amounts are 2 different values, just to keep that in mind. Fast forward to today, we know that the European Commission is actively working on this topic. However, the information is very limited. We know that, again, European Commission proposed a model for setting and calculating these maximum amounts, and this has been distributed to the member states. But member states were requested not to communicate or share this work publicly. What we expect as a next step is the evaluation and the discussion to take place at a member state level. Then member states will either accept or reject or challenge the proposal. And then an alignment will be sought at a regional stage. Timeline for this is unfortunately unknown, but we hope for more news in the coming months, especially after the meeting of working group that is planned, likely to be planned in April. To wrap this up, we appreciate this progress of the work is very crucial for the food supplement sector because it's going to be binding limits for all the member states. But we have like we said, very little information and expectations about this. So we highly recommend regular monitoring of this issue so that you prepare your business and yourself for the next steps and the next actions that we'll be taking. One quick note that as part of the risk management procedure, there's going to be a public consultation. So this is going to be the opportunity for all the stakeholders to review the work and also raise comments on the work that's been carried as part of the risk management procedure. Yeah. And over to you, Emilie.
Yeah, because at the French level, things are also moving on about the nutrients and other substances. Because as you know, France started a huge work to review the different list of nutrients of substances and botanicals that are authorized for use in food supplements. And as part of this work, the ANSES, so the French scientific authority, already published an opinion about the nutrients where they updated the maximum daily dose, and they also proposed specific label warnings. And based on these recommendations, the DGL drafted an update of the regulation, so the French decree. In this draft, we can see that some maximum daily doses are decreased based on what we have actually, and the values that we know today in France. For example, for vitamin C, zinc, selenium, or manganese. Also, no maximum daily dose were defined for biotin or chlorine. And there is also a recommendation for infant and young children because they recommend that a statement like vitamin and mineral supplementation should be medically supervised in this population. So the draft decree said that this recommendation should be written on the label unless this population is explicitly excluded from the use of the food supplement. So about the timing, this draft was published, I think, end of last year or beginning of this year. So and the first objective of the authority was to publish the regulation during this year, 2025. However, we knew that something was going on at the European level. And after some discussions between the stakeholders and the authorities, the authority decided to, let's say, put the project on hold for this year. And if nothing happens at the European level during 2025, they will publish the draft, so it will be applicable next year. So as we said with Merve earlier, something is happening at the European level. So what is going to happen next, we really don't know. It will depend on the timing about the timing and how long it will take for the European Commission to really draft a project and to publish a new law on the maximum limits of nutrients. So we really can't tell you about the timing. It's just depend on the European Commission. And this is, of course, important for you as a food business operator, because we can imagine, especially because we can see that this maximum daily dose are lower than what we know and what are today. So this will impact your product, and you will have to reformulate some of your products. So the objective is that the changes happen at the same time, so you won't have to do it a few times. On the next slide, we're now talking about botanicals and substances at the European level. EFSA published or is going to publish various safety opinions related to Article 8 procedure. So just as a reminder, Article 8 means Article 8 from Regulation 1925-2006. This is the regulation on the addition of vitamin and minerals and of certain substances to food. And this Article 8 describes the procedure when you have a substance added to food that may present a risk for the consumer. And in this situation, there is a safety evaluation of the substance by EFSA, and then the Commission can decide to place the substance in the Annex 3 of this regulation. So the substance can be prohibited, can be restricted, or used under union scrutiny. And for example, monacolin is one example of that. In a few years ago, there was a first evaluation from EFSA about the monacolines from red yeast rice. And after this EFSA evaluation, the substance was placed under community scrutiny in 2022. And when this happened, a food business operator has the possibility to provide additional scientific data to be evaluated, and that may add information about the safety of the plant. For monacolin, what happened is that after additional scientific data was submitted, EFSA reevaluated the data and published its opinion in last January. But unfortunately, the NDA panel reiterates its concern, and the data submitted do not allow establishing the safety of monacolin in red yeast rice supplements below 3 milligrams per day. The consequences of that is that the annex of Regulation 1925 will be updated, and probably the monacolin will be placed in Part A of this annex, meaning prohibited. So monacolin could not be used in food supplements and in food anymore. The same procedure happened for preparation of REAM preparation, and especially these are the HAD. I'm not going to talk a lot on these slides because I have a next slide dedicated to HAD. Also, regarding green tea extracts containing epigallocatechin galate, they were also placed on this Part C of Annex 3. But because no additional data was submitted during this period of union scrutiny, EFSA will not have to review its opinion. And we think that this green tea extracts will just be removed from the Part C and stay in Part B of Annex 3. 3 other substances are under evaluation, and EFSA should publish their opinion in the next month. We have a first opinion on plant preparations containing berberine. Another one concerns hydroxycitric acid and plant preparation containing this substance. And the last one is about preparations from the fruits of sweet and bitter fennel. So here is the focus on the HAD regulation. So as a reminder, in March 2021, the European Commission published Regulation 2021-468, and this regulation placed some plant preparations containing HAD in Part C. It means substances under union scrutiny. So Part C of Annex 3 of Regulation 1925. And after this publication, some legal actions were taken in the EU General Court against this regulation. This action led, after 3 years, to the annulment of the HAD regulation. So in November 2024, the Court of European Union decided to cancel the regulation, and this was based on 2 key points. The first point concerns the fact that Article 8 permits to regulate substances and not plant preparation. That was the first argument. And the second argument, this is more a scientific point, but it is related to the fact that EFSA was not able to provide a daily dose with no safety concern for this HAD substance. And based on that, the Commission concluded that the insufficiency of data was sufficient to prohibit the substance. But it happens that it is not the way we should understand the regulation. And because of that, the court decided to cancel the regulation. But this is not the end of the story, because in January, the European Commission decided to to react, and 2 actions were started by the European Commission. So it means that today, the cancellation of the regulation 2021-468 is currently suspended, and we should continue to apply this regulation. Another interesting point, another interesting things that happened last year. This is the report published from the head of agency working group on food supplements. So the report was published in June 2024. And this group identified 117 substances with possible hazardous properties, which may lead to human health risk. These substances were chosen among the DASH list and other list of European member states. And among these, all these substances, 65 were considered as novel. So to use it, we should follow the novel food process. 3 were already included in Annex 3 of Regulation 1925. But the 49 were evaluated by this working group. And they evaluate the risk assessment and the safety of these substances. And they concluded that among these 49 substances, 13 were high priority because their consumption is really a risk, a safety risk for the consumer. You have the list of these 13 substances here in the table. We learned a few weeks ago that the European Commission will start the Article 8 procedure for all these substances except for melatonin, because melatonin, I think that they already had some discussion about this substance a few years ago, and they have decided that the regulation in place is sufficient to manage the risk. Then again, both the substances at the French level. So as I said earlier, the France is working on the update of its regulation on substances, nutrients, and botanicals. So for the substances, ANSES is today working on the substances and should publish its opinion in the next months. And the procedure will be the same as what is happening for the nutrients. So based on the ANSES recommendations, the DGL should update the actual regulation and propose a new draft that will be discussed after. And on the next slide, yes, this is the same thing for the plants. So regarding the botanicals in France, the work will start. So ANSES will be commissioned in June to start the evaluation of plant preparation, which will be a bigger work and a long work. And many questions can be raised from that, especially what the decree might look like in the form and in the content, because it's possible that the authority wants to have a positive list, but also a negative list, like what is like the Belgian decree. Advantage of a negative list is that it is an effective barrier against mutual recognition. However, this is another point is about the legal feasibility of doing a negative list, because other regulation exists, and this is really a point that will be discussed, I guess, when the draft will be published, if there is a negative list. And also about the content, will it be just a list of plants, and part of plants? And also we can ask the question about the warnings and recommendation, because as you know, 2 years ago already, ANSES published an opinion where they indicated that it would be good, and actually it is the case now in France, that when you use a plant that is the subject of an EMEA monograph, it is highly recommended to consider and to indicate the warning and the precautions of use for this plant on the food supplement. So maybe it's a possibility that the future decree already indicate the warnings related to the use of part of plants. The last slide on botanicals, it's a focus on ashwagandha because ashwagandha, it's a huge subject in Europe, especially due to safety concerns. We regularly hear about this plant, and a proof of its importance is that this is one of the 12 plants that will be the subject of the Article 8, according to the HOR report. Also, some member states decided already to make a risk assessment of these plants. Also, Germany and Netherlands and even France, they all advise not to use ashwagandha, especially in specific population. For example, in pregnant women or in people with cardiac conditions or hepatic conditions, the risk of side effect is really high. So they really advise to not use the products containing these plants. In the United Kingdom as well, so even if UK is not part of EU anymore, their regulation is really similar to what's happening in Europe. And they also are starting their risk assessment. They started the first step, which is the call for evidence, and they will work on the subject in the next months. And in Denmark, this plant is already prohibited, and you can't use ashwagandha in food supplements in Denmark. And for the novel food, I give the floor to Merve.
Thanks, Emilie. So 2024 was a significant year for novel food as well, mainly because of EFSA guidances that were updated. And these updated guidances are clarifying the administrative and the scientific requirements for novel food applications. This is considered a very positive step because in the updated guidances, we have more information, more details, and we now know, safe to say that we now know more what EFSA would like to see in a novel food dossier and the applications. So the purpose would be for the applicants to build stronger and better dossiers to submit, and hopefully this will allow shortening the EFSA review timeline and avoid stop the clock. Like in other years, there were several novel foods authorized in 2024, and some updates and the decisions were taken. We are not going to go through each of them, but we refer you to check the union list, check the novel food catalog to be updated with the latest news. While we are on novel food, a few words about CBD. Well, although there hasn't been an update at EU level or in EFSA's position about CBD, it's a very hot topic in national agenda. We see that, and we believe this summary can address some of the questions that we received from you. So extracts of cannabis sativa and products containing cannabinoids like CBD, they are considered novel food since 2019, when it first appeared in the novel food catalog. And since then, there were several CBD novel food applications submitted, but EFSA stated that these were put on hold due to knowledge gaps and extensive data requirements. Since then, there hasn't been any news in the EU. Like we said, many member states and the UK are playing catch up, so to say, because it's a booming market, and they would like to be on top of things about CBD. So member states like France, Belgium, Germany, Denmark, they are either these countries, they are either running their own risk assessments, or they are publishing press releases to warn their consumers against the use of this ingredient. These The situation is a bit escalating in Italy since the government reclassified CBD as a narcotic substance, and they banned the use of CBD. However, this ban was annulled very, very quickly by a regional court, and it's a very hot topic right now because it was raised to the EC, the Commission, and the Commission is asked to conduct an investigation on the issue because it is against the principle of free movement of the goods in the EU when there is a ban like that. Meanwhile, in the UK, things are progressing faster thanks to UK's own novel food scheme. So FSA has already published 2 safety assessments for CBD as a novel food, and they confirm the safety for use in food supplements. It looks like the UK is aware of the market reality, so they are trying to be more flexible. So they drafted a list of CBD food products, and those products that are linked to an application for novel food authorization, meaning that those applications that were already submitted, they can be on the market until the formal regulatory approval is given or the rejection is given. So we also saw that FSA this year they issued a recommendation, and they recommended consumers to limit the consumption of CBD from food to 10 milligram per day. Moving on with food additives, we have a new food additive authorized in food supplements. It's 3-magnesium citrate, and under the E number E345. So the food additive regulation is updated, and as of February 2024, this food additive can be used in solid and chewable food supplements in accordance with the approved specification and the criteria. We also saw that EU set maximum levels for nickel in certain foods. So the regulation on maximum levels for certain contaminants was updated. There are several impacted categories like nuts, some vegetables, cereals, cocoa, some food categories like infant formula, FSMP. These are listed as the impacted categories. So these levels will be in force from July 2025, except for some of the categories, and they will apply from July 2026. We are moving forward with labeling and claims. First thing is the food information to consumers. Not many updates in FIC. So the only one is the exemption from labeling of the allergen mustard for emulsifiers, and this is going to apply from April 2025. We'll quickly move forward with a very important report that was published last year from European Court of Auditors. And this is a report named Food Labeling in the EU, Consumers Can Get Lost in the Maze of Labels. This report is a very comprehensive one, and it has many recommendations for the EU. And as you can see on the right, they listed the topics that need to be under attention from the labeling regulation. And they are also flagging some delays from the Commission side. So recommendations can be summed up as addressing the gaps in the EU law for especially pending claims, precautionary allergen labeling, origin labeling, analyzing labeling practices which consumers are exposed to, monitoring consumer expectations and improving their understanding of labeling, strengthening member states' controls, especially about online retail, and improving communication by national authorities of data on controls carried out. So European Commission replied to this report and addressing some of the points that was raised. And we, from this reply, we know that most of the points that was highlighted on the slide were targeted for 2027. This is the statement from the EC itself. Some updates in health claim register and the applications. The most important one is linked to what Emilie mentioned about monocholine K from red yeast rice, because of this ingredient's inclusion under Annex 3 as a restricted substance of Regulation 1925. It prohibits the consumption of this ingredient beyond 3 milligrams. However, the previously authorized health claim on this ingredient was contributing to maintenance of normal blood cholesterol level, was at the dosage of 10 milligrams per day. So these two points are now conflicting. That is the reason of the removal of the health claim from the authorized health claim list. We also have 2 health claim applications rejected. One of them is, again, the monocholine from red yeast rice, and the other one is isomaltulose contributes to normal energy metabolism. So we refer you to EU Register of Health Claims to be updated about the final list of authorized health claims. Again, under health claims, another very important action was taken by the European Parliament. At the beginning of last year, they published a report on implementation on the regulation nutrition health claims made on the foods. So this resolution is calling the European. Through this resolution, the European Parliament is calling European Commission on some actions. These are mainly related to establishing of nutrient profiles for the use of health and nutrition claims, which has been on the table for a really long time. They flagged the delay again for the proposal of front of pack labeling, the harmonized front of pack labeling. Again, it's been on the table. They flagged the lack of harmonization of botanical substances at the EU level, and they call for a harmonized EU negative list of botanicals used in the food. They are also concerned, again, about the on-hold claims related to botanicals, and they believe that they are misleading consumers and they might pose a risk to their health. One final concern that they highlighted was related to online communication of the unauthorized and misleading nutrition and health claims. After this resolution published, we saw that European Commission again provided some answers and addressed some of the points were highlighted in the report. We don't really get many concrete details about from these answers, but we can say that they confirm that the work continues for front of pack labeling and nutrition profiles. In terms of the botanicals, they confirm that safety of these foods, they are addressed by EU legal framework via the Article 8. But one interesting thing is that they stated that they might be exploring the notion of traditional use in the efficacy assessment for the on-hold health claim. In terms of the online communication, the Commission shares the concerns of the Parliament and they confirm it in their replies. What they do, they advise member states to take more actions based on the Digital Services Act and Audiovisual Media Services Directive. So not really very concrete results we can get from there. We also wanted to touch base on the vision for agriculture and food that was presented by the Commission in 2025. This is a very important tool for us to understand where the European Commission would like to go, what direction they're going to take in the near future. So the vision aims to shape the future of agriculture and the food sector in Europe and recognizes food as a strategic sector. It focuses on sustainability, food security, digital transformation, and rural development areas. And we see a lot of emphasis on promoting innovation. Our take from this vision is that there is a lack of concrete measures on front of pack labeling or nutrition or labeling in general or health claims. So it can be argued that the future regulatory developments in these specific areas will emerge separately from this policy framework, but through the actions of other initiatives that we just discussed. Going back to health claims, we have probiotics, always a hot topic in the EU. So just to set the scene, the official position of the European Commission hasn't changed since 2007. And it is that probiotics, they are considered a general health claim, and they therefore need to be accompanied by a specific authorized health claim. To this date, we don't have such authorized health claims. So in practice, it is there's no compliant way to use probiotics technically on the labeling. So this approach is stemmed from the guidance on the implementation of nutrition and health claims regulation that was published in 2007. One of the biggest arguments of Commission's approach was the WHO definition of probiotics, live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. So this implies a beneficial effect on the health by definition. So it's been 18 years since the Commission took an official stand on this topic. And in the meantime, there is an increased consumer demand. There are scientific advances, and there is the market reality. So several member states like France, Italy, Spain, they allow the presence of probiotics on the labeling under certain conditions like QPS status, sufficient number of living cells, etc. So we would like to refer you to these two AHPM guidelines on this topic. One of them was published very recently last year on the harmonization of probiotic labeling in the EU. And the other one is related to manufacturing of the food supplements containing probiotics in terms of safety and efficacy. So these are very good tools for the industry to have some sort of an harmonized approach in the absence of EU action. Coming back to this year, what happened about probiotics, which is very significant, is in December 2024, the EU Ombudsman published a decision. And this decision is following a complaint filed in 2023 by IPA, the International Probiotic Association. And the Ombudsman confirmed that the interpretation made by the Commission was reasonable, still applicable, and it is in line with the objective of consumer protection. So we would like to remind you that this decision is not binding, but it's a very good clue where the European regulators are standing with this topic. And when it is read in detail, the decision states that the member states which allow to use of the term probiotic, they do not comply with the EU law. And this is something for the Commission to address. So again, our take from this decision and from what's been happening in the regulatory environment, so probiotics, they still remain as a high complexity topic for the EU. So we strongly recommend each food business operator to hold sufficient scientific evidence if they're going to claim, if they're going to use this term, and be very mindful because it's a very fragmented regulatory environment within the EU, as mentioned, several member states having different approaches. Lastly, to touch on green claims, last year a new directive was published, and it is as regards to empowering consumers for the green transition. With this directive, two different and very important directives were amended, and one of them is Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, and the second is Consumer Rights Directive. With the introduction of this directive, the previous directives are amended, and they are now addressing misleading environmental claims. And we have the term greenwashing finally finding its way in the legislation. Misleading information about the social characteristic of products or traders' businesses, or non-transparent and non-credible sustainability labels. So this directive prohibits the generic environmental labels for which is not possible to demonstrate the beneficial effect, and they are found vague and misleading. So claims like environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, sustainable, they're not going to be able to find their ways on the labeling anymore. The directive also prohibits the display of a sustainability label that is not based on a third-party verification scheme. So this is also a new thing that is introduced with this directive, and the details should be also shortly shared in the new directive on green claims that we are expecting. So just to note, this directive on green claims themselves and directive on empowering consumers for the green transition, these two directives are complementary to each other, because directive on green claims will set specific rules on the substantiation, verification, and communication of voluntary environmental claims, and it will give us more information about environmental labeling schemes on the EU market. Currently, the Green Claims Directive is at proposal stage. We don't know the exact timeline, but it's likely that it will come into force in the near future, within this year or beginning of next year. So with that, I'm passing on to you, Emilie.
Yes, thank you, Merve, for this last section about the commercialization. So first, in Belgium, news from early 2025, Belgium updated the royal decrees, especially to clarify the food supplement notification procedure. They indicated that no notification number will be assigned if there is a doubt about the status of your product. Or also if you have any therapeutic claims on your label, so it means claims that provide properties for prevention, treatment, or to cure a disease, this is not possible, and the notification number could not be assigned. As well, for products, food supplements dedicated to infant and young children, the net number could be assigned only if a positive opinion on the product has been approved by the Conseil supérieur de la santé. So it's the Superior Health Council, if I translate in English, but the name is in French. And the third point is about, it's a clarification actually about this notification number, which is a national reference number. It means that first, it is not a marketing authorization, and if you have a net number, it does not mean that the product is compliant with the Belgian regulation. And last but not least, this is not a proof for the mutual recognition. So theoretically, the net number cannot be used in the context of mutual recognition. Another news in Italy. It's just an information. So they have updated their website, and especially the part dedicated to food. So it's easier to use than the previous version. And they also updated their frequently asked question about the notification process. So nothing new, but just updated some points. In France, we had some changes since September 2024. As you know, previously, to notify the product in France, we used a platform named Téléicaire that was managed by DGCCRF. And now that another authority, the DGAL, is responsible for food supplements, they decided to transfer from one platform to another. So the new one is Complalim. This is exactly the same thing, but in another presentation. Maybe easier. It's quite nice to use it easily, and the information that you have to that you need to notify the product are exactly the same. There is a tool that is very interesting. It's the ingredient search. This is nice because you don't need to be connected. You don't have to be connected to the platform to use this tool. And this can be interesting if you want to know more about your ingredient. Is it authorized or not? The pot of plant, for example, that you can use, if there are some restrictions or warning to indicate on the label, you can have access to all this information using this ingredient search. Another thing that has been updated is the possibility to mandate a company to make the declaration. If I take our example, you can mandate PLG to notify your product, and we will have access to your company, so the information that we will write on the label. And last point about the register, because you know there is a register of all the food supplement notified in France. We still have this register in the Complalim, but they had some issue, I think, to transfer the register from Téléicaire to Complalim. So things are moving on, and it should be finalized by the end of first quarter 2025. So in a few days, if everything goes well. And this last information in Germany, this is another topic, but that may be interesting. The objective of this slide is to let you know that it is possible that business operators should anticipate stricter control on online sales, on also ingredient classification, and on advertising. This is a conclusion that we draw from two documents that were published. The first one was published in 2024, but about the control that the authority made in 2023. They controlled online market of different products, and food supplements were part of this control. So they notified different issues. And also they published last year a press release where they actually, the objective of this press release was to encourage the responsible use of food supplements by the consumer. So they explained them that they need to take care about the supplier, the ingredients, and the claims that were indicated. So those arguments let us know that maybe the German authority could have more stricter controls on online products, because yes, consumer must take care, but this is the role of the FBO to respect the law and to provide information that are true. So to conclude for this webinar, if we highlight the highlights of the past year, a few things may be retained. The first one, I think it's one of the most important, is the ongoing actions against the HID regulation. This is a point, but what is important, this is more the conclusion and what will happen next. So what will be the impact of these actions on the future evaluation? We talked about the different Article 8 procedures that are ongoing and that will be also started from the European Commission. we can think that the way the law is interpreted will change the way EFSA and European Commission will follow will draft their opinion and will consider the evaluation of these substances. Another point about the EU harmonization of maximum amounts of vitamins and minerals. This is something that everybody is waiting for, but we know that something is happening, but we don't really know the timing and what will happen next. We hope that what started with this model proposed by EFSA and the European Commission in a way will be fast. The process will be fast, but in another way, when you see the limits that were proposed, maybe this is not satisfying for the food business operator. So what will happen next? This is a good question. We can see also the lack of progress on different subjects, especially subjects related to labeling and communication. This may be because not maybe because that this lack we can highlight that we don't have many progress on this subject, but we can see that the European Parliament, the European Court of Auditor, they question the European Commission about their work and they want to know more, and they really, it's like a pressure on the European Commission from those parliament and also trade association and private sectors to, let's say, to ask the Commission to move on various topics, so the labeling and also claims and botanicals, and really to press them to provide answers and to conclude and to propose regulation on those topics. So many questions and uncertainties to the future. So let's see. And our recommendation is really to strengthen our foundations, meaning that be sure of your product characterization, work on your claim substantiation, scientific substantiation, about the safety of the product. We know these are important points, important stuff to manage. So really work on that. And of course, do not hesitate to ask for our services if you need more information. So I can see that, yeah, it's almost time. I can see if we have any question. Not much question, actually. It's no question. We can be proud, Merve.
No. Ah, great. So we already addressed everything. That's a good sign.
Yeah, so do not hesitate if afterwards you have other questions. Do not hesitate to ask us. And as we said, we will send you the slide deck in the next few days. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye.
Bye.